No black cats, just straight facts.
Triple P certified.
Listen, we can talk about odds all day. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's gonna happen.
Welcome once again to the Perfect Parlay Pursuit. I'm joined as always by the Euro Under King, my brother, my partner in crime, Alex. He is here to break down the weigh-ins for UFC 265. But first, we have a very special third wheel on our tricycle today. It is not Danny the Bettman. It is continuing with the tradition of that's been going on for 4 Fridays in a row. Every Friday we bring on a big guest. We've had Clint McLean from Die Hard MMA. Great gambling mind. We've had Manpreet from MMA Lock of the Night, another great Canadian gambler, giving you your predictions and picks for each fight. Now we had James Lynch as well, amazing journalist. But this is our best guest yet. This is the 4th face on our Mount Rushmore that we're attempting to create for you guys. We can talk to gamblers, we can talk to journalists, but that's not what you came here for. You came here to hear from UFC caliber fighters, UFC caliber opinions. So that's why today, without further ado, let me welcome our guest from South Jersey, Joe Solecki. Joe, welcome to the Perfect Parlay Pursuit.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Happy to be here. I don't know if I'm the best guest for like betting picks and stuff, so anybody watching, don't place bets and don't come looking for your money back on my end. I don't have any money for you. I barely have any money myself, but yeah, happy to be here and talk fighting for sure.
Well, we wanted to have you on because we are a local podcast. We are a New Jersey-based podcast. Now, granted, I'm in New York City right now. Alex is in Boston, and I think you're in North Carolina. But that does not mean that this is not a Jersey episode. So let me roll the very special New Jersey intro music.
It's just a Jersey thing. What does that mean? You just
All right, we got a situation.
It's the Jersey episode. Alex, tell everybody what Jersey's all about. Joe, you and Alex trained both at similar New Jersey jiu-jitsu academies. You came out of Hassett's. Alex, you trained there now. I'll let you boys sort of have the floor for a second.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a Jersey thing, big family-based area, a lot of Italianos like myself. Great place. I love New Jersey, and I love Hassett's. I love Hassett's very much, and you're definitely one of the inspirations for a lot of guys in the gym when we watch you on Saturday nights playing it out there.
I love Hassett's, man. I love Hassett's more. I love Jersey. I do. I love to go back, but really the only reason I go back now, for some family, most of them are in Philadelphia, so I'll use Hassett's as my main reason to go back for a trip. I went right before, literally the week before the world shut down, or 2 weeks before. It's like March 1st of 2019 or 2020 rather. I went to the half the week at Vegas, the PI, and then went the other half of the week at Hassett's and trained all week. And I was doing good of like twice a year getting up there for an extended period of time, and then the pandemic hit. So, but I can't wait to get back up there. Now I have a kid. I'm like, she won't appreciate it, but I got to bring her up and she's got to get approved by Hassett. So I got to be like, hey, what do you think? Should we keep her? Should we give her away? That whole thing. But yeah, I just love going back, man. Jersey's the best. I love where I live right now. I would never leave here. I don't think I would never move back, but when I go back, I love it. It's like, it's home. It's always going to be home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's certain, you can take the Jersey out of the boys, but you can't you can take the boy out of the Jersey, but not the Jersey out of the boy.
For sure. My wife reminds me of that frequently. She's a Southerner.
She's a Southerner, right. And do you ever, now that you're down south, do you ever find yourself being at a checkout line and you're kind of tapping your foot like, come on.
Yeah. All the time. Yeah, driving's huge. The left lane's not for passing down here. It's but then I come back and then almost like rejected by your own. It's like when like the wolf comes back to the pack smelling like another pack and they kick you out. You're like, what? Because I said y'all one time. I can't be the New Jersey guy still. What the heck? So I don't know. I'm a nomad. I don't know.
And then you go back down south and say water, and then they send you back.
So 100%.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to have you on, especially today, because Dan the Bettman is not here today, but we think it's probably for the best because Dan, he's the only one of us on this podcast who's untrained, right? Like he's never wrestled, he doesn't do jiu-jitsu, he's got no hands, but yet he fires off at the mouth all the time. So I wanted to share with Joe this clip from and Joe fought Austin Hubbard, right? So that was a fight. If you're in the YouTube gambling MMA space, I'm sure you're not, Joe, but if you watch some other channels, a lot of other YouTube gamblers were not privy to the skill set of Joe Solecki, and they were high on Austin Hubbard, man, because he he's coming out of Elevation. It's a very prominent gym. And, they're all picking him. Me and Alex feel like the only two on an island picking Joe Solecki or Austin Hubbard. So this is
probably get the submission here. I bet on Joe Solecki by submission.
That's just the receipt from my prediction in that episode. So I predicted you by submission. You went out there and got it done. And this is Alex as well taking Joe Solecki.
I think that he's going to go in there, he's going to submit Austin Hubbard, and he's going to make it look easy.
Yeah, Joe Solecki's going to get destroyed by Austin Hubbard.
So there you go, Joe. That was Dan's opinion going into the Austin Hubbard fight. And, he had it was a little cocky there. But now you know, not only can you take Dan's seat on this podcast anytime, but if you see him at a barbecue, you can also snap your finger and say, get up.
Dang, he said that with conviction. Like, gosh, if I wasn't me, I would have been like, gosh, did I if I was my brother, who was like a much more of an early bloomer, I'd have been like, did I steal his girlfriend in high school or something? But I was like, I was the one getting my girlfriend stolen. So that couldn't have been it.
He did not have girlfriends in high school. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, me neither. But I'm like, man, wow, yeah, he's out with conviction. But hey, you know what? I wasn't picking me by submission in the Hubbard fight either, and I had those moments of doubt where I'm not quite picking me when it's time to fight either. So I whatever, it is what it is. But he said that like he wanted some blood. Like, yo, he's not only gonna lose, but he's gonna get killed out there.
Destroyed was his words. It's crazy. Yeah. Don't worry, because Alex and I, we put our money where our mouth was, and we cashed hard that night. As you can see, that's a $10 bet, 7-fight parlay with you included in that ticket. And that one was $10 to win $570. As you can see, that night we also had Frankie Edgars and Munoz to go the distance. Never bet on a fight to go the distance, especially one that exciting. I mean, I'm sitting there watching Frankie and Munoz slug it out, and I'm like, be careful, boys.
Yeah.
We got to go all the way here. So that was a little embarrassing. But it didn't end there, Joe, because so once Dan lost on you that night, he couldn't just do an about face like he has in the past. He had to double down. So, look how high me and Alex are after that fight, going into the Jim Miller fight. This is Alex and I gassing you up. Check this out. Got to go with the hometown boy. I got to go with Joe Solecki. Out of Hassett BJJ, out of Jim O, Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu, North Carolina, South Jersey, all of that. Beat Austin Hubbard when nobody thought he would. Let's just say that. Finished him. Round one. Looked great doing it. Looked like George St. Pierre. Mixing it up. Stiff jab. Great low base. Center of gravity looking on point. Alex, I'll pass it to you because I know you got things to say as well.
Yeah, Joe Solecki, the South Jersey bad boy. You say no one knew he was going to beat Austin Hubbard. I knew he was going to beat Austin Hubbard day one. I knew that was an easy matchup for him. He went in there. He got it done. Joe Solecki, the true Hassett's warrior, the true soldier, going out there. He's going to destroy Jim Miller. South Jersey over North Jersey all day. Easy dubs.
So can we make the official nickname the South Jersey bad boy?
Oh, man. Only if I want to get ridiculed in my home gym here now. God. They were calling me at Gym O, they were calling me Jersey Joe a lot. That. I almost used it for a fight. I was like, better use that before something worse sticks.
Yeah, right. Well, so we were gassing you up. We're high on you, and this is Dan, and you know that he's bitter. You know that he's bitter that he went down on that Austin Hubbard ship in this one. So I'm gonna warn you, take this one with a grain of salt because it's a little bit even more spicy.
Jim Miller stayed true to his roots. He's training in North Jersey, in Sparta. Joe Lassucki ran away from South Jersey, not true to his hometown, not true at all. So Jim Miller is going to absolutely run a buzzsaw through Joe Lassucki, and I can't wait. At plus 210, I think. This is easy money all day. Jim Miller with the experience on the feet, on the ground. Joe Lassucki is going to be running with his tail between his legs. He's going to be going back to South Jersey, except no one there likes him because he ran away from his hometown. So he's going to have to go banished to the wilderness again. So I'm down with this fight. I can't wait. Sparta, New Jersey, North Jersey, all day, number one.
Hey, I mean, you think the last one he had conviction?
Gosh, I think my bigger problem is his partiality to North Jersey. Forget me. I don't like me that much either, but man, he's a North Jersey guy. Yeah, wow. Sparta. I don't even know if Sparta is North Jersey. I don't even know where Sparta is. I love Jim Miller, but I don't know. Sparta's like farmland. He's like North Carolina up there. That's barely Jersey.
I know, it's more like central. And the thing is, you can tell that he's just doubling down because he wants to attack our heart a little bit there on that one. But it's like he's from North Jersey, right? But he lives in Philadelphia now, which is more like where we're from.
Yeah.
Like, you ran away from your hometown. And first, Joe, he's a Jets fan by birth, and now he's converted to an Eagles fan. I'm like, how are you going to say Joe ran away from South Jersey when you ran away from the Jets to the Eagles?
I don't know, but I think I need him to pick against me in the upcoming fight. Well, he probably will. The guy's a New Yorker, so he probably will anyway. But
We will not
that
let
might
him.
be good luck. He might need to keep picking harder than last time even.
I agree. So we're gonna let Dan just kind of sit in his bed. He's shit in the bed now. He can lie in that. And Joe, just look at the camera, and if you can, just give Dan a message for us for next episode.
Dan, whoever hurt you, I'm sorry. I'll talk to you anytime, bro. I'm sorry somebody hurt you. There must be somebody that looked like me. Must you bumped your car, fender bender, didn't leave a note. Something happened. I'm sorry.
Hey, I can tell you who hurt him. Austin Hubbard and Jim Miller. Hurt him right in the pocket on that one.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about what's coming up, what's in the future, not the past. And the future is Jared Gordon. And before we get to that, I also want to talk about one of your teammates who's got a fight coming up a little bit sooner. So John Salter taking on Gegard Mousasi. Gegard, one of my hardcore favorite fighters from back in the day, back when he was fighting Mark Hunt in Japan, things like that. Like I used to like Gegard before the UFC completely dominated the space. Now that we got pretty much one only rival organization, Bellator, Gegard is dominating. He's on a streak. He's had title contention. John's also on a roll. He's dominating. What do you see going down in this fight?
Man, I'm really excited. Nobody's earned it more than John. I got a little notification on Instagram today, like a memory, like from a story or a post. And I had posted like 3 years ago today, we were running hill sprints, and I was like, oh, after this next fight, they're not going to be able to deny him his title shot. Well, they did. It's been 3 years, so like no one's taken the long, hard road. Like it's crazy the amount of work he's put in, the patience he's shown. He's never come out on social media and complained or, because in reality, he was promised the title shot off a handshake agreement, I think after his fight with Halsey or Kendall Grove. So, I mean, you're talking in 2016, and it's been 5 years. So I'm super excited for him. Gegard is a legend, and I think that is the reason that John's going to beat him. I think John has the utmost respect for him and knows what he possesses. And just in being in the camp and watching, I try to be useful where I can. Like I like butterfly guard. Gegard is a good butterfly guard. It's like maybe jiu-jitsu rounds, but I'm a lot smaller than John. So he needs, his training partners he's been using, but just being able to watch the sparring and watch the work he's putting in. And I truly think that how great Gegard is what's going to make John win this fight, as dumb as that sounds, because I'm watching the work he's putting in. Like last Saturday sparring, one of the last sessions, I think he had one more this week. And I'm like, man, like you've always looked great, but like you're pushing through 5 hard rounds, like how guys do like two rounds. If they're just going to be a sparring partner, like you're sprinting start to finish. So I just said, I cannot imagine Gegard doing the same thing at this point in his career. Not that he's being lazy, but there's no way he's having Shark Tank rounds with fresh opponents coming in, getting him ready for John the same way John's respecting him, putting him on a pedestal. So I think he's going to come out there kind of nonchalant like he always does. And John's coming out there to take the world title that he's been waiting for, since he stepped on a wrestling mat, at age like 12, I think. So it's a culmination of a lifetime of work. Just to even be here fighting for a world title, you earned the title of world title challenger. That's pretty darn special. But to see what's going to happen over those 25 minutes and watch all his lifelong dreams come true is pretty incredible. I actually just bought my plane ticket last night. Down here, there's been chaos. Like they're on strike and stuff. With airlines, so it was like impossible to find a ticket. I finally found a way to, I'll be in fight camp starting next week. I mean, I've been training all along, but I had to find a way to get into town, be there for the fight, and get out. And like I bought a training partner with me so I can get my sparring in up there and go to my buddy's gym and stuff. So, but super excited because I was just, man, I cannot imagine not sitting there witnessing him achieve, his dream. And it's big for the school. Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu. We're a jiu-jitsu school in North Carolina. And somehow we have, 3 fighters in big organizations, and, we're soon to have a world champion. It's really remarkable. It's cool to see the whole student base rally around, our coach and instructor and leader. It's really, really cool to see. And there's going to be a lot of students and stuff coming up from I think it's like a 10.5, 11-hour drive or, pretty expensive plane ride. And we're going to have a packed house for our coach. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Alex.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how much do you credit like working with John and like GMO in your development? Because I feel like every single fight you look better and better, especially in the stand-up where a lot of people were overlooking you, especially in the beginning of your career.
Oh, tremendously. I mean, I really, if it wasn't for the 3 coaches that I have, I would not be in the UFC. The biggest thing in the stand-up is Jeff Jimmo and Chris Galb, my boxing coach. And I've been with Chris since my before my pro debut. But we really, after my first loss, we really, I was working with somebody else too, one of the coaches at the gym who was kind of the head coach at the time at the gym I was at. And I still train at that gym, but that coach is gone. And we were doing a lot of flash with him. We kind of cut that out. And I started working with Chris seriously after about my 4th pro fight. So it all kind of happened at the same time. I started using Chris as my head coach until I met John. Then I moved to Wilmington, and I drive back 3 days a week to work with Chris. And then we met Jeff Jimmo, the year of the Contender Series, so maybe like 2 camps before that. And I was going when I could, but I had to work in Wilmington still sometimes, odd jobs and stuff like that, and didn't have the money to get up there. So the first real fight camp with Jeff in the driver's seat as the head coach was the Contender Series, and I think it really showed. He's a genius, man. Jeff's amazing, but the big thing, the thing that started it all was coming here to train with John for sure. But it's all 3, But John, it was huge because I had never been around success in MMA before. I had only seen you fight a couple local fights, maybe you get a shot at like a Bellator undercard or something, and then you lose. And what happened? I saw the aftermath of what happens when it doesn't go your way. And to be quite honest, without putting anybody down, it wasn't. It was kind of depressing, So looking at that after my first loss, I was like, my first couple fights, I was like, man, I'm going to be on a skyrocket to the top of the UFC. It's going to be, easy, and I'm going to have money soon, and I'm going to have this and that. And it wasn't that way. I took two really hard losses. So to see somebody like John, who when I met him, he was probably 34, 35, and I was 24, 25. So he had been where I was. His losses were in the UFC, but he had been 5-2, down and out, and been like, I got a long road back to get where I want to go. So it was really like, for me, I'm strong in my faith. I think God puts people in your life, and I really think that John was that for me. Somebody being like, hey man, I've been here. You're gonna be all right. Like the first thing he told me when I told him I wanted to move here to train was, you're gonna get a shot. Now it's a question of will you be ready when it comes, and that's our job, is to get you ready. So that was huge. Was the honesty, of saying, I don't know what you're going to be, but I'll do everything I can. You can train with me. You can do whatever. And they've been, him and his wife have been such a huge help to me and my wife, because we were in where they were, 10 years ago. So, it's been awesome. And then the other thing is having him to go up to Jeff's with and train at Jimmo, it's amazing. So Jeff is like it's funny. We were in the corner in my fight in DC, and I said, he's like my peer coach, I call him my MMA big brother, and Jeff is like the parent coach. Like Jeff had said what he needed to say and was looking back. I don't know if he's checking the time or whatever between rounds. And John's like, how do your legs feel? Because John's the fighter. He knows how an adrenaline dump. Your legs are killing you after one round, and they're exhausted. And I'm like, oh, they're a little tired, but I'm going to be all right. And Jeff caught wind. I was like, no, they're fine. I was like, it was like 2 little kids getting caught by their parents. Like, yeah, we're fine. We're fine. Sorry, coach. So it's cool because we get to go through the struggle together, and he knows what I'm going through. But then we have our coach that lays everything out, So it's amazing. It's a really good dynamic too, because everybody gets along so well. And that's the other thing is almost everyone's too polite to each other. They're like, no, please, you talk. No, you talk. And you're like, it's good though, because sometimes you get a coach where guys have these big egos, and I've had some coaches like this in the past. Not John Hassett. John Hassett's the man. But when I was fighting MMA, that were like, they're just there. They want to get in the picture. And you better thank me more than you thank your wife, because it's just crazy. And I mean, stuff that would blow your mind. Text messages, it's crazy. But these are not those guys. So yeah, I credit them with all of it. Really, really. I never knew how to wrestle until I was a guard puller my whole life, until I moved to Wilmington 3 years ago. So, and now we have college wrestlers coming through the room, and I'm able to wrestle with them and other good fighters and stuff. And the fact that I was able to take down Jim Miller, and he wrestled at Virginia Tech, Hubbard has great takedown defense. I couldn't believe I took him down. So that's just a testament to him, because he showed me really, really basic wrestling and taught me how to drill it and what to do when it doesn't work. And it's just been getting better and better. So yeah, I really long-winded answer, but I credit them for sure.
No, it's perfect. I mean, does anybody down south ever say, hey, Joe, not for nothing, you probably could have saved yourself some time working on this wrestling when you're up in New Jersey instead of coming down here?
Yeah, oh, for sure, yeah. When they hear New Jersey, they always think that. And then I kind of explain I went to Gloucester Catholic, which isn't a knock on their wrestling team. But
no, let's knock on the wrestling team.
Yeah, a little bit. And I went to 2 of the summer practices, and the coach was making fun of me. It wasn't the head coach. It was like an assistant. He was an older guy, and he's like, oh, I knew a jiu-jitsu guy once. He was a, whatever, and calling me a sissy because I didn't have shoes or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm coming here because I want to learn how to wrestle. Now you're breaking my chops, So I was like, but I did pretty well because I knew how to wrestle just a little bit from Hass. It's I knew how to scramble and stuff. So I did pretty well. And I was like, I don't think, not a knock on them, like, I don't think this is a room where I'm really going to get better, The reason, I mean, we have wrestling clubs here and we see guys come in and coach and stuff. And the reason I think that it's been so well for me is because John is like a really fundamentally sound guy. Like even high school coaches that are good or some college guys, they like teach you what works for them. But John teaches you like if you were going to put out like a DVD on like wrestling fundamental, like he's like, no, like I like to do this, but this is how you're supposed to shoot. This is how you're supposed. But that's the other thing. That's why I think he's going to beat Gegard, because he does everything the way it's supposed to be done. I always say that, like, how you fight your fight is how you live your life. Like your personality comes out in your jiu-jitsu game or in your MMA game or whatever it is. And John, it does everything the right way. Like he's a real estate agent, something on the side, kind of like Quinta. And like he's like a stickler for like following everything the right way. He follows up. Like that's how he runs the school. Like he just does everything the right way. And that's what I kept saying to him. Like, dude, like Gegard is super patient, but I don't see how he's gonna be more patient or much more fundamental than you are. Like he has to lull you into like a dog, like overcommitting and hitting you, but you don't overcommit. You don't get emotional. Like so that's the way he coaches wrestling too, and that's why it's worked for me so well. Is that's how I learned jiu-jitsu from Hastings. Is fundamentals, and then you build off them. And then he did the same thing with wrestling, which everyone that tried to show me before would just try to show me some flashy setup to a double leg or some crazy, arm throw that isn't going to work in MMA. But he knows what works, and the punching and the striking is what sets it up.
Yeah, I mean, early days of me getting involved in being a fan of UFC, I'm talking like Matt Serra versus Matt Hughes Ultimate Fighter season, like very early on. And I remember at that time, my cousin who went to high school with you was showing me, oh yeah, you like this stuff? Yeah, the guy in my high school, he does jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he was like showing me the game, like I don't know, on social media or something. And but that time period sticks out in my mind because you remember what it was like even 15 years ago, 20 years ago when it comes to finding a jiu-jitsu school. If you were really interested, if you loved UFC and wanted to train, you still might have to drive 45 minutes an hour, get your parents to take you to go train jiu-jitsu at that time. There were not schools everywhere like there are now. So the fact that you were spending your time doing that as opposed to wrestling, I think definitely set you ahead of the game and gave you miles on a lot of other people at a young age.
It was considered weird. I was telling that the other day to somebody here. I was like, yo, you guys don't have to understand. Like, if you just do jiu-jitsu now, people think you fight MMA. Even if you're like a kid, they think you're the man. Back then, like, before Tap Out was an Ultimate Fighter and stuff, like, obviously they were selling at Grappler's Quest and stuff. So, like, I would wear like a Tap Out shirt, get made fun of. What is that? That's stupid. UFC, I didn't know you'd come up with so many derogatory acronyms for UFC. People didn't know what it was. It wasn't even on Spike yet, or it just got on Spike. So, like, middle school, high school, all that. It was like not a cool thing to do. It was like, everybody else was, wrestling or not even wrestling wasn't really too cool. Close Catholic, but, playing football or whatever. You sit in the gym watching the whole place lose their mind over this 5'4" basketball player. You're like, yo, you guys realize he's never going to the NBA or even college. He's too small, right? Like, why are we spending time doing it? Like, I just won Pan Am's at Juvenile last week. Like, can I get like a thing in the newsletter or something, But I think it's good. I think that's what creates that hunger, is doing something niche where you're like, that's how you really like it. Because, even as a pro, I've had to fight for free. And, when you think pro, you're like, even early pro, you're like, I've seen with some of these, we used to work out at a place with a lot of the like farm system baseball players and stuff. They still get paid pretty decently, to be in my 7th pro fight, paying to fight, you're like, I must really love this sport, So I think it built that desire early on of like liking something. Like Hastings used to be like that. Like now, it's way better for the sport. It's way better for the school. It's way better for human beings in general to have access to jiu-jitsu. I think martial arts is awesome for people. But back in the day, if there's some pictures floating around of like, it's like a group of like 12 guys. You got like the most rugged, like plumber, military guy, this, that. You're like, dude, this was like a blue collar fight club. And then there's this little dorky 10-year-old sitting in the front of me. I'm like, what am I doing there? Like, why my parents let me do this? But it's way better now because everybody can have access to it.
Amazing. And speaking of some of your early fights, I was taking a look at your Tapology and looking at some of the names of the guys who fought on the card with you in some of those early CFFC fights. I mean, I pulled them up here. So Pat Sabatini, Ricky Bandejas, they stand out, obviously. But then you explored even further and, Tefan Nachukwi, Chris Dawkins. You fought with the Dawkins brothers a lot. Chris Dawkins and Kyle Dawkins have been on the same card with you a lot. Do you know either of them? And like me and Alex have rode hard with Chris Dawkins all quarantine, all pandemic long. Every one of those fights he hopped in as an underdog, we cashed hard on him. Just out of Philly, like wanting to support Philly guys. And ironically enough, Dan the Bettman failed to cash on him both times, denying his own Philly brethren. So
Yeah.
Do you know those guys? I mean, they seem tough as shit.
Yeah, they seem like just in passing and CFFC and stuff. We used to have the same management. Yeah, they're great guys. We root for them a lot. My wife and I like them just because we always used to root for everybody from like CFFC or even Jared Gordon. I fought in the car with him. So like,
Oh man, you beat me to it, man. Look,
yeah, the week after
there.
my last fight, we were in Florida for a couple days and just trying to relax and stuff. And like, I was like, oh man, CFFC alum, like Jared Gordon's fighting tonight. We got to watch. Like, Shane Burgos, all those guys. I like watching all those guys. But yeah, the Dawkins brothers for sure because they're Philly guys. They're kind of team balance. Martinez, BJJ.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always root for those guys. But Chris has been on a tear. It's been amazing to see. And Kyle's super tough. He's always having tough fights with these top 15 guys. Like he's a stud too. He's gonna be around for a long time. But yeah, I always root for those guys, especially CFFC alum. Fought at Ring Combat just once, but same thing. They got a ton of. I mean, half the roster's got to be either CFFC or Ring Combat.
Yeah. No, so is it like kind of like when you go to college and you run into a buddy from high school and you're like you don't really have classes together, be like, hey, what's up? Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think you know what everybody else went through because you were in the same places coming up,
Yeah, that's really cool, man. So yeah, I thought I was gonna, really blow everybody away with this find that you and Jared Gordon fought on the same card. You got the submission that night. Jared Gordon took on tough as shit Bill Algeo out of King of Prussia, another PA guy. So how do you see this fight going with Jared? Because we know he's got a great story. He's a great guy, an East Coast guy as well. What do you see this fight going like?
Yeah, I think I hate to keep giving the same answers for these last fights, but these are the guys that I'm getting as grinders. And I think I've kind of developed from a finesse, choke you out in the first round or lose kind of guy to a grinder, over the last 5 years or so. And I think it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a tough fight, a dog fight, and wherever it takes place, What I think is in my favor is the fact that first impressions are hard to shake. So if he even has a first impression of me, I'm a rookie compared to him in his mind because, where did he see me? It's my third pro fight. And I hit a quick submission. I didn't wrestle well, didn't strike well. My first impression of him is leagues above me because he was a veteran at the time getting signed to the UFC on that card. So that plays in my favor because I think I will train with that in mind, thinking I can't do the things that maybe I can do to him. I don't know. And be pleasantly surprised when I go out there and it's obviously it's going to be a competitive fight no matter what, whereas like same thing with Miller, when they were interviewing him, he's like, yeah, I think I've heard his name on the regional scene. I don't know. A couple of my students have fought on cards with him. It's like, so you're, even without meaning to, you're going to put me on the level of your students, And I think human nature would have Jared do the same thing probably. But yeah, I have a ton of respect for him. I like him a lot. Just, in a little bit I've talked to him, nice guy. And I'd rather fight the guys that I have respect for. I respect his game and I respect him as a human being, his story and all that. So I like that better because we can just touch gloves and fight as hard as we possibly can. And there's no nonsense before or after. Shake his hand before, shake his hand after, and call it a day. But, I really think I line up well, just, size-wise, skill-wise. It's going to be a really tough fight everywhere, but I think I can edge him out just about anywhere.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that, just don't let him big brother you in there. Like you said, that was my first thought. I was like,
yeah.
Just like what you said is the element of surprise in Sung Soo's Art of War is the most powerful element in the Art of War, the element of surprise. And like you said, if you're pleasantly surprised, it's a lot better than being negatively surprised, thinking a fight's going to be easier than it is. It ends up being harder. That's a bad place to be.
I learned that the hard way through coaching. I had coaches at the time being like, oh, you're going to choke this guy out in the first round, and then you go out there and you don't. And then you can be in the best shape of your life. Doesn't matter. Your arms are blown out and your legs are blown out. And then you're like, oh, this is an adrenaline dump. Okay, cool. Expectation is the root of all suffering. Okay, great. Now I know to plan for my eyeballs to be hanging out in the third round and me standing there going, I'm still here, And then if it doesn't go that way, like that's what we were ready for with Hubbard. I watched him make Max Roshkov quit on the stool. I watched him make Roshkov quit on the stool about 10 seconds before I walked out because they put it on the big screen. So, I was going, okay, cool. I'm going to be in that same situation tonight, but I'm not going to quit. And then when you're on his back, 3 minutes in, you're like, oh, this is great. Like, but he's still that guy. I'm going to be down a little bit having to fight him like that. And then you're like, oh, I'm under his neck. Well, he's probably not going to tap. He's really tough. Like, that's how I try to talk to myself now. Even in the Wyman fight, when the ref's like, I'm going to stop it or fight back or whatever he said, I was literally in my head going, they're not going to stop it. They're not going to stop it. Because, I signed a contract for 3 hard rounds. It's my job to do what I can to if I'm not in the driver's seat winning, is to get to those 3 rounds and put on a show for 3 rounds. So, there's no excuse for an early exit unless your lights get put out, in my opinion. So, I'm planning on that. And same thing with the big brother thing. Like, there's no one that would have that over me more than Jim Miller because I watched him as like a little
Yeah.
kid, and he's actually one of my favorite fighters. I just like watching Jared fight because I like watching my peers who come from where I come from, but we're equals, and I know that going in. I think he does too, and that's what's cool about it is I'm getting these fights where guys that I was watching, or even Hubbard. I didn't really watch Hubbard like that, but I didn't win a belt at CFFC or Ring of Combat or anything. He was LFA champ. I was like, man, like okay, I always wanted to fight for a regional title. This is kind of that unofficial regional title fight. Then you're like, okay, well, you're supposed to work till your heroes are on your similar level. Oh, I'm fighting Jim Miller. Cool. Okay. Same thing with this guy. This guy got signed the night I was just trying to get a picture with Dana. Wow. Cool. I'm fighting this guy. Like, there's just little things like that. And I take them in stride. Once they say go, you don't really have time to sit there and think about this stuff. You just kind of go,
For sure, man. And so, Alex, you want to say something? Sorry, I don't want to.
No, you're good.
Didn't mean to railroad you, but yeah, there's one thing I want to say about that fight, though, Joe. And this is just man to man, just some friendly advice. When you're doing this is not going to be a card that Joe Rogan is going to be on. This is not a title fight main event. Joe Rogan's not going to be backstage. So what does that mean? That means Paul Felder is probably going to be on the commentary team. Paul Felder and Jared Gordon, they're friends, man. So he's gonna try to get some info out of you. You better be rock solid in there. Don't tell Paul Felder anything. And honestly, Joe, don't even drink a bottle of water if Paul Felder hands.
Yeah, no kidding.
Look into it.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the thing is Jared's been around and he has such a good story that he's trained a couple different big gyms, so he has such a huge network of people. And the fans love him because he has a tremendous story,
You tell Paul Felder you're gonna spinning heel kick him, first move of the thing. You lie to him. You feed him bullshit information. And if Paul
I'm in full guard in this fight. I've been hurt. I haven't really trained, so yeah. That's the thing is like it's so funny. Like the closer you get to the top of the heap and like the bigger promotions, like it's just a small world. Like my buddy who we used to train with at Jimmo, Impic Saganai, was up in Myrtle Beach for fights, and I was in there for a couple of our guys fighting. He's like, oh man, like it's so great, like so good to see you. Yeah, you're fighting Jared. You two are like, because they train together now. He's like, you two are like two of my favorite people. And I'm like, whoa, didn't you know me for like, but everybody knows everybody now because if you're gonna travel, you're gonna train, and if you're gonna train, there is no more secrets, there is no more. But that's the cool thing is like, here's at the end of the day, you can give somebody the 4-1-1, but it's different when you're in there. I knew Jim Miller had a rocket of a left hand. But I still ate one of them, so it's just like it doesn't. And he knew I wanted to put him on his back after round 2 because that's what worked in round 2. It didn't stop. He didn't stop it, So it's the same thing with his guillotine. I knew he had a good guillotine. I didn't know it wasn't going to be a factor in the fight, and that it wasn't going to be. I was going to hit past his legs or whatever happened. I would have shot earlier, So it's going to play out how it's going to play out. So that's the thing. I've had to watch the guys that I admire now. Like even Strickland's a little crazy. But the way he was saying, like, it doesn't really matter, Stipe, same thing. He's like, yeah, I don't really care. Like, I'm going to walk out and still. Like, that's kind of what, even though I get super nervous, I try to adapt that mindset of like, dude, what's going to happen is going to happen. And my coach, Jeff Jimmo, that's where he's really great. Besides the X's and O's, is on fight week of being like, dude, if they can beat you like this, we're going to shake their hand and get back to work on Monday because we've done everything we can. Like, is there anything else you could have done? No. Okay, then we're going to shake their hand if they beat us and commend them because that's a heck of a fighter in front of you if you can beat you like this. So, same thing. But yes, I'm going to be tight-lipped that week. I didn't even get a fighter meeting last time. I hope it's the same. I don't want to do more stuff.
Well, they got you on that feature prelim, so you know that they see big things for you, Joe. And looking at the top 15, top 30, I mean, we got to plan out our takeover here. So we get the top 15, and there's obviously I'm looking at the card that you're competing on, right? And you got Grant Dawson, who's in the main card. He's the only other lightweight on the card. Now they got him taken on number, I believe it's 15 12. Ranked. Let's see, they have him taken on number 16 ranked, or sorry, number who's 12. Number 12 ranked Diego Ferreira, right? So when I look at this from a fan and just somebody who studied the UFC since it was first getting started, I think they're trying to set you up with Grant Dawson down the line. I think they got you guys on the same card, same division. They got you on the featured prelim spot. They got him in the main card, but he's just maybe a beat or two ahead as far as the ranking level opponents he's getting. But the way I look at it, don't even worry about those rankings. Call Grant Dawson out after a win. Be like, look, right, you're on this card. You got to win. That puts me in a position. I think that's our move. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that I never look ahead, and that's the other thing I learned. Because I was promised a CFFC title shot with a win over, if you look at my record, with a win over Cesar Balmaceda. I never fought for the CFFC title. because I was going in with the mindset without I wasn't being arrogant about it. I knew he was super tough. I knew that. I was nervous about him, but I was going as soon as I had the opportunity to choke him, I was like, if I just get out of here, I get the shot at the title, and then I get the title and I go to the UFC, And it was like, okay, never doing that again. So now it's like, okay, I'm gonna go fight this guy. I don't even say I'm gonna get through this fight. Like I may die in here, which is dramatic, but it can happen. So I'm like, I'm just gonna fight this guy. I'm gonna go out and fight this guy. And if I rather fight this guy, I'm gonna do everything I can to win. And then with a win, I'm gonna get home safely to my daughter and my wife. And then start talking to my manager. But I think we have the same management, so that can get kind of hairy. They might get pissed at me if I call out somebody from the same team.
They take twice, baby.
I know. Well, yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I feel like I'm the junior guy. I have like one fight with them so far, so I gotta mind my P's and Q's. They're all on the West Coast. They all hang out together and stuff, and I'm out here.
Sounds like you need new management.
No, they're great. Shout out to Jason House and Iridium. They are awesome. But they have a stronghold on the lightweight division. So many. They got Bobby, all kinds of. If you go through that, you probably tick off every other guy on the list. There is one of theirs. But he capitalized on the pandemic of having a bunch of guys that were ready to take short notice fights and getting them, into great positions. So now everybody's kind of getting a bottleneck to the top, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because historically, fighters who take a fight on less than 40 days' notice are 37% victory, right? 37% victorious in those 40 days or less matches. So I thought, well, during the pandemic, surely that number might have changed because people are expecting. But even during the pandemic, this last year, 37% under 40 days. Wow. But that being said, do you think we're going to see that number move up over 50? Because now it seems like there is no short notice. Everybody's got to be ready at the drop of a hat. I mean, last weekend we had 15 fights on the card scheduled when we did our first episode on Sunday. By the time we did the After the Weigh-Ins episode 5 days later, there were 10.
Yeah, I think we're returning back to somewhat normal unless another batch of downs comes and they got to do the testing and all that again. But it seems like they're scheduling enough fights far enough. Like I've known about my fight for 16 weeks. Yeah. Not from now, but it'll be 16 weeks start to finish. So it's been weird sitting here. I trained the same all year. I just tweaked 2 or 3 things in camp about 8 weeks out. So I feel like I'm doing the same. I'm doing the same amount of. I'm training hard. I'm I feel so lazy because I'm in camp. Am I in camp yet? I'm 4 weeks from being in camp. Wow. But that's how it used to be. That's how it was when I got the Wyman fight. It was 14 or 15 weeks. So I think we're getting to the point where they're booking enough fights on every card where if one gets scrapped, if somebody gets sick or something, they just scrap it and move it to a later date. Whereas before, what they were having to do, they only had 10. They need to keep 10 or 8 or whatever. They were replacing with somebody that week who wasn't quite UFC caliber or getting the call up usually. They were like, hey, why don't you fight? So I think that's how they got this bloated roster. Now they have a bloated roster. I think they're actually matchmaking far enough out because you see they're matched during December now. But which would be great because that's really how it used to work to my understanding was after a win, after the Wyman fight, they're oh, you're going to get a couple choices of names now that you want to fight and stuff. It's oh, awesome. And then it didn't happen like that because everything changed. Yeah, it was just, can you fight? Can you make weight? Okay, you're fighting. So, which is a cool year. It's a good year to be a rookie because you're getting opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have gotten, which I certainly did.
Yeah, I think a lot of the rookies from 2020 are going to have lifelong fans. I would not have known who Chris Dawkins probably was until he came to the UFC, and now that's a name that I like. He's one of my favorite heavyweights to watch now.
For sure.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, I'm just noticing the time. I know we said we'd have you out of here a little quicker than this, but in all honesty, Joe, you talked a lot. It's not really my fault.
Yeah.
I'm just messing. So real quick, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this weekend's card, and then we can get you out of here. We got here's the top 6. Here's the main card plus the featured prelim, which is the spot you're going to be in, that Rafael Fiziev, Bobby Green real estate, which is some sick real estate, honestly. I mean, if you're not headlining, that's the spot you want to be because then you can watch the whole main card and get the most eyeballs on you. So what do you think? I think the Fiziev Bobby Green fight is going to probably be the most exciting one out of all of these ones, with the exception of maybe Aldo Munoz. But as far as our picks go, the way we see it, I got Fiziev, I got Song Yadong, but that's going to be a close one. Tisha Torres all day. Michael Chiesa, I think he gets it done with the wrestling. Pedro Munoz, I just think that even though they're equally matched with age, I think it's going to come down to miles and the weight cut. Aldo did not look too good on the scale today. And then Lewis and Gane, I mean, man, Derek Lewis is convincing me with all of his talk and his weigh-in and everything. He's convincing me with patriotism alone that he's going to knock this French guy out. So I don't really know. Those are my picks. Joe, what are your thoughts on this weekend's card? You can even touch on the prelims if you know who will be competing. I
think I would pick Fiziev, or however you say it. But I think Bobby Green, if he's the underdog, I mean, that would probably be the one to maybe pick because he's got such good striking.
Yeah.
He can put anybody out with a shot, you know? I like Chiesa over Lukey, even though Lukey is amazing. Chiesa is just, I don't know how you train for that guy because he's so long, but he's not long and weak. He's long, and you could see how strong that guy is. You can just see in his build. If he locks his hands around you, you're not getting away, you know? I like him. I think Song Yadong over Casey Kenny. I hope. I'm not a big Casey Kenny guy after all the weird stuff. Him and O'Malley, they're just goofy. But I think Song Yadong is just super skilled too. And then I think Pedro Munoz over Aldo, same thing, just Father Time. And then the big one, I mean, I guess you could flip a coin in the main event, but to my understanding, I haven't seen a ton of Cyril Gane. I know a lot about Derek Lewis, you know. I don't think Cyril Gane has a ton of power, which, I mean, at heavyweight, he can still knock anybody out if he touches them. But I think Derek Lewis really does just need one. He was having, you know, an off night against Blades, and even then he didn't feel good, this, that, and the other thing, and he still just was like, I just need one. I think just knowing that is going to make him more dangerous because he can be losing 4 rounds and the last 4 minutes of the last round and still be like, if I just touch him once, I can beat him. So, yeah, I'm picking Derek Lewis.
Love it. Let's go. You just kind of made me feel like I should bet on Derek Lewis. Like, I don't know.
Don't come collecting at that. I don't know. Heavyweight is risky. You can't. I would have to bet on a heavyweight.
You know, because then if I lose on Derek Lewis, I might end up like Bettman all bitter and whatnot.
Yep.
You know, so
Solecki.
God damn it, Dan. Get out of here. So anyway, thank you so much, Joe, for breaking down the main card for us. Like I said, it's been an absolute honor to have you on. We wanted you to be our first official UFC guest. That spot will be yours forever. And the third leg of our chair is always open for you. We'll kick Dan out on a moment's notice. We'll tell him to go kick rocks. So is there anything else you want to say to your fans worldwide before you get out of here? The floor is yours.
No, I want to thank all 7 of them. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I appreciate any support I get. You know, it's awesome. I'm definitely getting to do what I love for a living, you know, and getting to make a pretty cool life for my family and have a cool body of work just from what we've done so far. You know, I've had 3 fights in the UFC and 1 on the Contender Series. Just having that body of work to compile to be able to show my daughter one day is really, really cool. And just, you know, little moments on TV like my wife on the Contender Series. It's huge for us, you know. They're everything to me. At the end of the day, this is a really cool thing that I love to do, but it's a means to provide for my family, which is everything for me. You know, they're everything. So yeah, that's it. I appreciate everybody that supports me. When you support me, you support my family, and I really appreciate it. So that's it. Thanks for having me on.
Guys, if you're in the Triple P Mafia family, you will support Joe. Joe is our ride or die South Jersey, North Carolina guy. So if you're a part of this family, go give him a follow on his Instagram. Where can they find you on their social medias, Joe?
Just at Joe Solecki on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's just an athlete page, Joe Solecki MMA. And that's pretty much it. I usually I'll do fight shirts again. They're going to be coming out in a couple weeks here and stuff like that, putting sponsors on the back. So people can keep an eye out for posts about that stuff. And that's pretty much it.
Does your brother still do his podcast?
I got to get him to fire that back up. You know, he moved down here and started a business. So all his efforts, how selfish, is, you know, instead of doing the podcast that I would sometimes be on, he has been put his efforts to his business. Go figure. But yeah, I think he wants to start that back up soon. So we'll see. Growing Up podcast.
Growing Up, right?
Growing Up podcast. Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Way to go. All right. Perfect, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. And we're going to stick around and break down some more of the prelims. But take care. You have an open invitation anytime you want to come back.
Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
That was awesome, man. What a great guy.
Super, super cool. And his mindset, the way he was talking about, like, how it is what it is. Like, it's kind of like that Max Holloway, like, mindset where it's just like so much more freeing, I feel like, where he realizes that, you know, not everything is in his control and it is what it is. And, you know,
for sure. But, you know, yeah, we got to get him barking at Grant Dawson though, man. We got to get a little bit of that.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Might be a little off brand. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that's his speed.
Yeah, but it's okay. You know, like I said, he's more of the George St. Pierre gentleman. You know, and with that, and like I said, with that laser jab, looking more and more like GSP every day. So let's talk about the other fights in this card. I have notes on all the weigh-ins, guys, and we're also going to talk about the Ultimate Fighter. So we got 2 episodes, 2 fights that we have not touched on. Alex, take everybody through the two fights that, it was episode 9 and episode 10 that we didn't break down last week. So the first fight, it was kind of more sleepy. Obviously, the Andre Petrosky fight was the more exciting of the two matchups that we saw in the last 2 episodes to see who's going to advance.
No, the Ricky Turquoise one
versus Ludwig. We already broke that one down.
I think we broke it down, right? That was.
Yeah, let's just move on then. I think we did too. So let's just move on to last week's episode, the most recent episode of this week's episode. Andre Petrosky takes on Pooh Bear, Brian Battle. Man, dude, what a fight! What a fight! What do you have to say about that one, Alex? I'll give you first take.
Dude, Brian Battle is a madman. He's really, really good, and dude, he gives me like Forrest Griffin vibes. Like his personality, he like kind of looks like Forrest Griffin too. And dude, he's sharp. He's got some sharp striking and put Andre away, which everybody was kind of expecting Andre to be the guy that won the whole thing. And Brian Battle, the last pick on the show, beats the first. Like that's another Team Volkanovski last pick beating the first overall, which is big for his team. And now he has somebody in the finals, 2 people, Ricky and Brian Battles.
And that headbutt was interesting. So they reviewed it and determined that it wasn't a headbutt that cut him open, but it was.
It wasn't what cut him open. They did collide heads a little bit.
They collided heads, and that was what cut him open, I thought.
But I think like that, like you got to keep going. Like you can't let that get in your head and like ask for the ref and all that.
Yeah, I don't know why headbutts aren't legal. Because they do them anyway. I mean, guys will come in and collide, and they'll get their head up, and they'll buck, and they will do it anyway. It is a technique that guys will use anyway. And I saw another position that Petrosky actually had him in, that single leg position, when you have him up against the cage, and they usually fire off some of those punches where they're able to kind of tuck and protect while having the leg and then punch. When you get into that position and you're kind of hiking that leg up and you're jacking them up against the cage, that's another headbutt opportunity. I mean, I'm seeing headbutt opportunities left and right. And the way I see it, if I'm an MMA coach in 2021, I'm saying, okay, here's our opportunities for groin strikes, here's our opportunities for eye pokes, and here's our opportunities for headbutts. And we're breaking down when we're going to be using all 3 of those, because clearly they're allowed. They're allowed to some capacity. It's like you get 1 or 2 every fight. So.
Yeah, and I mean, if you grew up wrestling, you know all about sneaking and headbutts against people. You know all about it. You got to collide heads a little bit. You got to make it rough. You got to make it ugly.
Yeah, I mean, dirty wrestling moves are nothing new to New Jersey. I remember going to a clinic when I was 6 years old, and the guy was telling me about pushing somebody's nerve in their arm to give them a dead arm, like with your when you got in psychiatry. He's like, just dig your thumb into their nerve, and then their arm will go dead, and they won't be able to move it. There's a nerve right here, and he was like having us all like do it. It's like, all right, do it to each other, practice on each other, and we would do it, and like we'd all be walking around, like, all right, now go to lunch. We're all going to lunch with dead arms.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And 1999, different time.
Yeah, you were allowed to just dead arm people. Now you're not allowed to dead arm people. Someone
said that same seminar. They taught us about checking the oil. They taught us about everything.
Checking the oil is one of the dirtiest tricks, and I don't necessarily know if it shouldn't be allowed. I mean, that's probably how the Greeks did it, right? You know how they got down.
Hey, everything's a handle, and the thing is, I mean, I just want to get back to an America where a bunch of middle-aged men can sit in a room of 25 8-year-olds and tell them to grab each other by the butthole. I don't know. I mean, and mess with each other's nerves and their arms and stuff. I mean, just simpler times, No funny business. Nobody even raised an eyebrow at that. They were like, the boys are wrestling. Let the coaches coach.
Yeah.
So,
in his ass. in his asshole.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious! Great fight coming up.
Excuse my language there, but.
So the Andre Petrosky was really good. I mean, that headbutt happened. They were like, and then they reviewed. He's like, yeah, bitch, it wasn't even a headbutt. And then Brian Battle's like chirping at him and stuff. And then they were chirping back and forth. And then they both fought really well. But Battle stopped on that guillotine. He snuck it in. It was sneaky out of nowhere, really quick. And I guess submissions still are a threat in modern UFC.
Caralho.
Yeah, dude, and that was a tight guillotine. And Andre did everything he could to try and get out. He tried to do the little roll, didn't quite get out. Put it in even tighter probably, but that was a rough guillotine. Elbow up, right? He went elbow high, right?
He went elbow high on that one, I think. Yeah. So just some notes here from the weigh-ins. First one to the scale was Gatto. Gatto came on 124 pounds. She was smiling and she was looking good. She takes on Victoria Leonardo. And she looked solid. She looked a little bit stiffer than Gato did, moving up to and away from the scale. She weighed in a little bit later down there. But I remember thinking that Gato looked better. Leonardo obviously has not had the long layoff that Gato has. But Cody Saflik was talking on the Dogger Pass podcast about there being this phenomenon of female Brazilian fighters specifically who will take like a 2-year gap after a fight and then come back looking even better, and that ring rust doesn't seem to be an issue. Ring rust as of late hasn't seemed to be an issue. So this one will be, a big packed house, packed audience. Could be a little bit of shell shock for Gato going in. Not a fight I particularly want to bet on, but a lot of smart folks seem to like Gato in this and have a lot of faith in her. So I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough fight to call for sure. I mean, it's not going to be one that's on every single one of my parlays. I'm going to probably play a little bit more conservative this weekend and have some smarter bets. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the weigh-ins, I think the most appealing thing to me is how the hell did Michael Chiesa ever make lightweight? Like, that guy is humongous, as Joe was saying earlier, so long, so strong, and barely making 170. And in the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where is the fountain of youth Jose Aldo is going to? Because he used to struggle to make 145 all the time, notoriously struggled, would have a hard weight cut, looked very sucked out, barely could walk up to the scale sometimes. But now he's going down a weight class and looks better than he looked 5 years ago, 10 years ago when he was fighting at bantamweight. Or not bantamweight, featherweight.
It's fasting. Fasting is the fountain of youth. You starve yourself, and it helps with, all those different things. It seems. Just kidding. It's not medical advice. For fuck's sake, Google. It's not medical advice. It's a fucking entertainment podcast. We're just joking over here. Sorry, guys. The algorithm sometimes fucking send me emails and tell me that we're not allowed to give medical advice on the podcast or things like that, or we're not allowed to advertise certain products. Anyway, I don't know that we've ever advertised a product on this podcast except for chocolate milk. But anyway. Pedro Munoz, 135 championship weight. Couldn't have looked, it was night and day between him and Aldo. Aldo looked bad, guys, bad on the scale. Looked like he jogged up to the scale. Looked like he was coming off of like cutting weight minutes before. Sunk in, looked old, looked bad, guys. Not good. Munoz all day long. I don't know what people see in Aldo. It's just nostalgia at this point. Luckily, I was never like the biggest Aldo lover. Like, I liked his fighting style, but whereas Anderson Silva, I would get goosebumps watching Anderson Silva walk to the octagon. When I hear his intro music, I get goosebumps. I never got goosebumps before a Jose Aldo fight. I didn't care that much. Entertaining, yeah, but the most entertaining, part of his career for me was the lead up to the McGregor fight. So it's like, yeah, him knocking out Cub Swanson, him knocking out this guy, that guy, the fight with Mark Hominick. These are all good fights and everything like that. But either way, Johnny Munoz came after Pedro Munoz, 135.5, looking good. He's got a lot of first-round finishes in his career. He's looking to get a submission. The other guy he's fighting, Vince Moraes. Or sorry, that's not Vince Moraes. He's fighting Jamie Simmons. Yeah, Jamie Simons. He looked way worse than Munoz, and he said in his little clip, his little vignette, it was like, I'm predicting the second round TKO. Bro, this ain't making it to the second round. You're getting tapped out in the first, I think. Johnny Munoz by submission first round, probably. Kowalkiewicz, and just chime in if you want to say something too, Alex. Kowalkiewicz looked decent, 155. Not looking super sure of herself if you compare her to her opponent, Panay. I wrote down that Panay looked good, hearty, mature, long arms on the girl, Panay. Long arms. One of those ladies that could just probably touch the floor while sitting down at the chair, like not even needing to do this or like do this. She can just touch the floor, So, yeah, Panay looked ready, and she's got some recent 2021 experience, and she shook off the cobwebs in that Godinez fight. But Godinez sucks, really. So if Panay was like struggling with Godinez for 3 straight rounds like that, it barely won. It's like Kowalkiewicz has been in there with a lot better of opponents, and also she's training right now with Joanna. She's like in her mind too. Like, I think Joanna's like really helping her get that mindset back. So not really a fight I want to bet on.
Yeah, as we never bet on the ladies' fights, never do. It's a tough fight to call for sure, but I am way more confident in Alonzo Menafield now than I was before. Something about Ed Herman, he's just a grinder. I think it's going to be a lot closer of a fight than people think, because didn't Alonzo Menafield, he lost to the Dirty Bird, right?
I don't know if they're even in the same weight class.
Devin Clark and Oven St. Preux. But, I think that Ed Herman is much like the Dirty Bird and a grinder type of a fighter that can outlast like the short barrages that Alonzo Menafield's known to give.
I'll never bet on Ed Herman in this situation, but I'm not confident in Menifield either. But the things that do make me confident about Menifield, he came in a half a pound under 204.5. He also is training out of Fortis MMA. He also went out and looked confident in the Charant fight, got a submission pretty quick. But this quick submission did nothing to satisfy my cardio concerns. So because he's going up against Ed Herman's an old school wrestler. He's got that muscle memory. He's going to be in there. He's not going to go anywhere. He's not going to want to quit necessarily. You're not going to make him quit. But I just think that he's so rickety. You look at Ed Herman, he looks stiff. He looks rickety. He looks like if I spooked up on him in a grocery store and went, Ed, he would be like, ah, and like just seize up and tense up. And he'd be like, damn it, why'd you do that to me? Now I can't move like this. My neck's all fucked up because like he just is, he's had a rough go of life, pulling on your neck and all that stuff. So I just feel like he's just not as fluid, not as mobile. And I think Menifield kind of gets in there, puts him up against. I think in the way that Menifield got knocked out by OSP is the way that Menifield knocks out Ed Herman, just kind of corrals him, chases him, blasts him up against the cage. And he drops to his butt just like he did with that slow Mike Rodriguez fight, but only this time it is actually over.
Yeah. Another great weigh-in was Tisha Torres, who was fired up at the press conference for her fight against Angela Hill. I think Tisha Torres goes out there and destroys her. Apparently, Angela Hill was making some remarks about, Tisha did all this before USADA came.
Yeah,
before USADA came.
Tisha looked amazing at the press conference and at the weigh-in. She's low key kind of hot, and she was all fired up. I think she just is so much more athletic, so much more strong. Like Angela Hill, it's like, yeah, well, guess what? If she is on steroids or not, doesn't really matter because what are you going to do to deal with that? You got nothing to deal with that. Like Angela Hill just doesn't look strong. She looks like she's on her way to a desk job to me. TT looks like she still wants to fight, compete. Wants to, she looks like a bodybuilder. So I love that spot. That's the only women's fight that I'm actually like super confident in.
And she's married to Rocky Pennington, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Very nice.
So yeah, Song Yadong came in, shades on 135. Oh, by the way, TT 115 championship weight. Song Yadong 135 championship weight. Wants to start fast this time. Wants to use all aspects of the game. I just don't think that Casey Kenny's going to submit him, and I don't think that Casey Kenny's the better striker or the more powerful striker. Casey Kenny needed the towel to do it. Yeah, he's a judo champ, but judo doesn't work. There's never been a judo person to ever enter the IBJJFs or the Mundials or any other jiu-jitsu tournament with solely a judo base and win. I don't really respect judo that much. I mean, if you're, a girl who got into the sport in the Ronda Rousey era, you want to put a white belt on and go flip guys over and stuff in a class, go ahead. But, I'm not putting my son in judo. I'm not putting my daughter in judo. I don't believe in judo. So just like I don't believe in boxing. So it is what it is. But
it is what it is.
So what are we doing here?
I don't know, man.
What are we even talking about? I kind of lost my train of thought. What are we even talking about? Don't clip Casey Kenny, puts him on Queer Street Club and Sub, something like that, maybe, or it goes to decision. But I think that Song Yadong gets the win here. That's what I felt first. I was getting a little bit swayed into Casey Kenny because he's got the Kraus stamp of approval, but I think it's Casey Kenny drops this one. He couldn't get past old man Dominic Cruz, so. But he does have the better output and the better volume, Casey Kenny over Song Yadong. But if he gets cracked and hurt, it's not going to matter about the output.
Dude, I mean, Dom Cruz can make a run at the title, honestly.
Maybe, but he is old.
He's not that old. He's only like 36, 32.
For that division, 135, that's old, man. I don't know how old he is.
36.
But it doesn't matter. All right, now let's just keep breaking down these weigh-ins. O'Day Osborne looked amazing, especially compared to Manel Kopp, who missed weight by 3 pounds. If the fight even happens, I'm taking O'Day all day.
O'Day all day.
Anderson Dos Santos, he looked okay. He was excited, 135, but did he look better than Miles Johns? No, he did not. Miles Johns competing at a Fortis. He looked great. He looked studly. A lot of people, DTC, Laura Sanko, and all them were backing him. Michael Chandler and all them. So I think he gets that one done, but could be an apple pie shitter. Johns is a little bit too favorite heavy, but the other guy pulled out because of COVID. Miles Johns didn't have to sit there and drink orange juice for 3 days. So I think Miles Johns comes in better.
Yeah, I think Johns gets it done for sure. Although Dos Santos is way more experienced, I just think that Johns is a tough matchup for anybody and a tough night out for anybody in this division.
Next, we had Leonardo. We already talked about her. Bobby Green, he looked good, 156. No drama. Looked good. No drama. But I just don't think that this is a good style matchup for him. He's taken on a great striker. Is it as close as the line would tell you? No. But Bobby Green doesn't have good output in terms of volume. And it is Texas, so if he's like stalking Fiziev and like looking crazy, then maybe like they'll give him points for advancing. But I don't think Fiziev's the kind of counter striker to like run away. I think he's going to stay on the center of the ring too and be eager for a firefight. Fiziev looked so good on the scale. I mean, everybody's saying like, oh, this is a good spot to bet Bobby Green as an underdog. That's when he wins as an underdog. It's like, I don't know, guys. I mean, to me, this is a spot where I love to bet Fiziev. Like, he looked amazing on the scales, dude. He one of the later ones to weigh in, but he was hype. He was he was good, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you know where he went to college? It was the Kyrgyzstan Police Academy, and
now he's training with Sanford MMA.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's no longer the head coach.
He's training at Sanford MMA, and I think it was Michael Chandler. Does he train at Sanford MMA with him and Henry Hoof? Yeah, Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
He was saying on the weigh-in show at DC, he was like, Fiziev is the guy who's the first one there last minute to leave. He's an amazing work ethic, great attitude, hard worker. So Fiziev all fucking day and night.
And Michael Chandler's the guy who has great work ethic himself. So if you want to
recognize real.
Yeah, so you want to take somebody's word for it. That's certainly the guy.
Yeah, and then just moving along with other guys we haven't talked about, Alonzo Metafield, he looked great. He looked amazing. His thighs are out of control, man. His thighs are out of control. He could crush a pumpkin with those thighs.
Dude, he's a thick guy, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, Ed Herman is a grinder. Like, that's the one thing I'm worried about is Alonzo Metafield tiring out and Ed Herman getting some type of finish or edging out a decision because Metafield puts his foot too much on the gas in the first round and gasses himself. That's my only worry.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair, but Ed Herman needed the towel to weigh in 205.5 and needed the towel. Vince Moraes, he looked really good. He weighed in after Miles Johns, and he takes on Draco Rodriguez. Now, the thing about Moraes is he looked really good, and they were saying like he knows his job's on the line. He's got a girlfriend who fights MMA too. And I was like, okay, I was picking Draco, but then I'm like, all right, maybe I'll give him a look. And then I see Draco weigh in. 136, a little too loose. He looked like he's still having post-concussion syndrome. He's like, oh, he's all loopy and shit on the scale. Like, he was not like, even DC was like, Draco, get off the scale, man. Get off the scale. Like, DC was making fun of him. He's like, Draco's over here to the window. Now you say, hey, you say, oh. He's like pointing over there. He's like, oh, he's like doing all kinds of weird shit. It was weird. But it was fine. It's kind of funny, but it's just like, my point is, he looked a little too loosey-goosey. Vince Moraes looked like business, baby, business. So, like you said, Michael Chandler, 170.5, looked good. Big, and then Gane.
Chiesa, right?
Chiesa, yeah. Then, Cyril Gane, 247, looking amazing. Weighing in with shoes on, 247. That's the thing about these heavyweight fights. Sometimes, these heavyweights, the lighter guy wins. Stipe DC, I'm thinking about some other examples, but I got to pee real quick. Talk to these people.
Yeah, Cyril Gane, he looks like a statue, and Adonis, he has an amazing physique, and I just don't see how he gets it done against Derek Lewis. I think that Derek Lewis, yeah, there is something to the fact that the lighter guy is a little faster, and sometimes he can get the job done and keep the people on the edge of the jab and stuff of that nature. I don't think Derek Lewis is the guy who's going to sit there and let Cyril Gane play these games that he's been playing with everybody else. He's going to close that distance, and like he said, he only needs one. He only needs to hit him one time, and it's a shorter night for him.
Well, let's just pray.
Just pray. Try it one more time. I know, okay, you're an atheist, whatever. Just pray.
Oh, man. But yeah, huge weekend of fights. Really excited. Always good to get a pay-per-view in town. And Derek Lewis doing it in his hometown, the hometown kid, Houston. So, I mean, he's going to be jazzed up for sure. Trey the Truth is probably going to walk him out or something. He said he's definitely walking out the Fat Pat top strap. So, couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, going to be a great night of fights. 3 fighters needed the towel. Casey Kenny, Ed Herman, and Manel Cap didn't need the towel, but he missed weight by 3 pounds. So yeah, those are going to be our looks from the weigh-ins. Guys, we brought you Joe Solecki. I mean, we have had now an official UFC fighter on the podcast. He's opened the door. Now that we've had him, we can have other UFC fighters on. We wanted him to be the first. So there's Joe for you. You can see why we like him. He's a great guy, very down to earth, very humble, very fun. And also knows how to take a joke. I mean, I don't know that Dan was joking. I think Joe should fucking maybe humble him in real life if he sees it. Maybe pour a thing of milk over his head or something when he sees him. But Joe took it on the chin.
It's just a Jersey thing. What does that mean? You just don't understand. It's just a Jersey thing. Stop playing stupid.
Maybe he really is stupid, Randy.
Nobody's this stupid. What are you people planning? It's just a Jersey thing. You know, you just got to be from Jersey to get it.
So you just got to be from Jersey to get it, guys.
Like putting chips on your sandwiches.
Yeah. Like getting a bacon, egg, and cheese, getting your tail of ham.
Yeah, tail of ham.
Tail of ham and eggs. All right, so that's the show today, guys. We'll be on the Discord tomorrow if you want to join. As always, you can find that link in the description box below. Join us on our Discord. We got 100 members in that Discord now, and we are chatting live during the fights each and every Saturday. You can find us there, posting our picks. If you want to know how we're betting this weekend, all of our official plays will be in that Discord. That's where you can find them. But as always, enjoy. You can find me on Instagram at PPP Certified. You can find Alex on Instagram at EuroWonderKing. And Dan is on Twitter at perfect_parlay. Go give that one a follow. It's brand new. That's where Dan's holding it down. He'll be interacting throughout all the fights, giving you his hot takes. And we know they're oh so hot.
Solecki.
So what do you think, Alex? What do you have to say? Or should I just play some boxing ball footage?
Get out of here with this boxing ball footage. I don't want to see any boxing ball footage ever.
Some Hawaii boxing ball.
Yeah, at least it had some beautiful scenery in the background and not you just sitting in your apartment in your underwear.
Like I found all this old Hawaiian footage. We had to do a lot of those takes. I wanted to get me going through that abandoned building door with it.
Oh my gosh. It's definitely better than the ones of you in your underwear in your apartment by yourself listening to some type of podcast. All right. Follow me, EuroWonderKing. Join the Discord. Love you guys. Let Dan hear it too. Like, get on Dan's ass for being so rude to Joe Solecki, who gives us his time, who's our hometown hero, and Dan sits here and disparages his name. Let him hear it. Let him hear it, guys.
Yeah, let Dan know he's a cuck for doing that. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Let's take it out with the outro music. Enjoy the fights this weekend.